watching Walking in Power, and I want to talk to you today about the right thing. When we think about doing the right thing, sometimes there's moments where it comes easier and there's times where it's more difficult. But this thought of doing the right thing came through some conversations I was having with a mentor in my life and talking about just doing the right thing. And he was talking about Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27. It says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it's due, when it's in your power of your hand to do so." And I was thinking about this verse, and many times our human nature can be self-preserving, where we want to protect what we have, and obviously that's good to a degree. But sometimes that protecting can turn into selfishness, and we don't even mean for it to turn into that way, because we have these things that are needs, or we have these idea that we have to protect ourselves from people. But God calls us to be someone who serves people and cares for people who are around us. And we often can withhold doing the good because maybe we feel like, well, this person's hurt me, or this person doesn't deserve it. But the idea that maybe, just maybe, in your life, the goodness that you possess, that you are able to bless someone, is the very thing that's going to change someone's trajectories, change someone's life, to put their eyes on Jesus, to really think through their own situation. I want to challenge you as we think about doing the right thing. We never want to be selfish people, and I don't think there's too many people who would willingly say like, "Oh yeah, I'm selfish and I know it." Right? Selfishness tends to be a little more sneaky, and it typically doesn't show up in major ways, but it shows in ways that slowly chip away at our character or who we are. And it looks like pride, it looks like selfishness, it looks like many different things. But when I think about this, and the conversation I was having with my mentor, there's 3 questions he asked I think are good to ask ourselves when we think about doing the right thing. And the first one is simply, how are you doing? Taking a moment to pause and ask ourselves how we're doing really in life. It's easy to distract ourselves and pushing through and just do what is ahead of us, or just do things to distract us from the real issues in our lives. And so, how are you doing? Maybe you're going through a real difficult time, maybe a tough mental battle or anxiety. Maybe there's things that you just are not dealing with and you're shoving down on the inside. Whatever it is, I want to challenge you and encourage you to really take a moment to self-examine yourself, your heart, your actions, because sometimes you can find the root of unforgiveness in your heart. You can find different things that are holding you back from the freedom that you desire, or the joy in life and simple tasks again, because there's things that are unresolved inside of you. So how are you doing? Think about just the ways that you can improve, things that you need to cut back on, things you need to increase in your life. And we think about when we think about plans and goals that we have, it's always great to have these plans, but we need actions to these plans. So when it comes to how are you doing, right? Take a look inside. But the second question is, when it comes to doing the right thing, is how did you plan to do? We think about things and we say, you're watching this video, you're thinking through like, this is an area that I need to grow, and this is something I need to change, or I need to ask for forgiveness, or I need to forgive someone, whatever that might look like. And you get to this place of saying, how did you plan to do? You can plan to ask for forgiveness. You can plan to have a conversation. I know there's times where people have this idea in their mind and say, I'm gonna ask this person, for forgiveness for what I've done. And maybe that person is not that place of forgiveness. And then they have this conversation and it just ends up even crazier than it was initially intending to be. That happens, right? And so sometimes our plans, we have to be consistent with them. We have to be faithful to see them all the way through and not get concerned when things don't happen the way that we want them to happen. So when we have a plan, when we ask ourselves, how are we doing? Are we doing great? Are we doing the right things? And then we ask, how do we plan to do? You need a plan. You need to understand that you just can't hope things turn around. You can't hope that they just come together, right? God wants to do great things in your lives, but there's certain things that you have to do. I always say this, you have to create a life and a structure that God can bless. You can't be living in a way that's contradictory to the faith you want to adhere to. So challenge yourself, think about, and how did you plan to do? Because I think in there you get to really be honest about your actions and not just your thoughts, where you have the plans in your mind or your heart, but then also what is the action? How did you plan to do? And then the last thing is, how did you do in comparison to the past? Now, what I mean by that is there's times where we may not be very happy with the progress we're making, or this conversation, or whatever it might be. But my challenge to you is to think about how did I do last month? How did I do 2 months ago? How did I do a year ago? How are you handling the situations that are in front of you right now? Because in this life, when you go through these things, whether you're not doing well or your plans don't go like you hope they would, or you feel like you're not as far as you should be, those things hold you back from doing the right thing. And it holds you back from living a life of blessing others and bringing peace to others and joy to others. And so I want to just challenge you with that you would think about what is the next right thing that I have to do, that I need to do for my health, for my family, for the people that I'm leading. You want to be someone that is self-aware in this space, that God can be able to speak to you and use your life in different ways that you maybe haven't even thought or anticipated that God would use you. And so I hope that this encourages you, that you take a moment to ask yourself, how are you doing? How do you plan to do? And how are you doing in comparison to what was, right, in the past? Blessings in all that you are pursuing when it comes to your faith, and be sure of this one fact, that God is faithful. Even when we are faithless, He is still faithful to see us all the way through when we're doing the right thing. Have an amazing day.